The ECB rate decision and press conference was a highly anticipated event. Traders were closely watching it today to see how it would impact markets. Today I'm joined by Sylvester Eijffinger, Professor of Financial Economics at Tilburg University in the Netherlands. First of all, how do you think the markets are reacting as a result of today's events?
Well, I think the markets are reacting very quietly because I think this is what they expected. They didn't expect great news from President Draghi because he has to formulate, of course, the modalities of the buying of government bonds, the outright monetary transactions, as he calls it. And it's not clear how the ECB exactly will do that. For example, in terms of sterilization, but also in terms of the cap on the interest rates, it's not clear. There will be unlimited interventions, but for the rest, the modalities have to be clarified by the ECB.
The euro rose to its highest ever since July 2nd due to the ECB's decision to leave rates unchanged at 0.75%. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I didn't expect a lowering of the official rate. Why not? Because it's already quite low. 75 basis points is quite low if you take in consideration the inflation in the Eurozone, which is, say, between 2–2.5%. So we have negative real interest rates of 1.5% at least. So there is no need to lower the interest rates even further. While some analysts expected that, I think that was a wrong expectation.
The ECB changed its outlook for inflation this year to between 2.4 and 2.6% from previous forecasts of 2.3 to 2.5%. How do you feel about this change?
That's quite high if you take into consideration the fact that we are still in recession in many Eurozone countries. So that is quite worrisome that this inflation is, around 2% next year or even more. That means that there is a lot of overliquidity. And the danger is, of course, that when growth takes off in the Eurozone, that this enormous amount of overliquidity will be activated. It's now not used by the banks. It's stalled on the deposit facility. But when it will be activated, then we have to expect higher inflation rates. And then you have to think in the order of 3 to 4%.
And can you tell me your thoughts on the ECB's GDP forecast, which sees it lowered to -0.4% from -0.1%?
Well, GDP forecasting is always a very dangerous business, especially when you're in a crisis. And we are now in the midst of a crisis, so nobody knows exactly how things will develop. Suppose that Greece will be in a default and has to leave the Eurozone. Of course, that will have enormous effects on the southern European countries. So it's very hard to do these predictions because there's a lot of uncertainty about Greece, but also about the position of the other southern European countries. What I think is important is, and everybody is waiting for that, what is the position of the northern presidents of central banks, and not only the president of the Bundesbank, Jens Weidmann. As you know, we had some, I would say, a public discussion about that since the 2nd of August. It was clear that the president of the Bundesbank didn't agree in principle with the activation of the security markets program, buying government bonds of peripheral countries. And I think this problem has to be solved because we cannot afford to have a no from the most important country and the most important central bank in the Eurozone, being Germany and the Bundesbank.
Thank you, Sylvester, for sharing your views on today's events. Tomorrow we'll be looking at the UK manufacturing data, which will be released. So please do tune in for that. Have a good evening.